What do you get when you cross true crime and the supernatural? You get the Black Phone. Directed by Scott Derrickson, who directed The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, Deliver Us from Evil, Doctor Strange, among others, with a screenplay by Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. Cargill? I'm probably mispronouncing that. He also wrote Sinister 1 and 2, Doctor Strange, and he also wrote No Man of God, which is based on Ted Bundy. This movie was based on a short story by Joe Hill, who you might know as the son of Stephen King. It premiered September 25th, 2021 at Fantastic Feast, released theatrically June 24th, 2022 in the United States. The film is a horror suspense thriller. Feels like true crime with grounded supernatural elements. That's the best way I can describe it. It is a horror film, first and foremost. It is a horror film, and it does have supernatural elements, but it's more grounded, as I said a minute ago. It's not over the top. It's more believable in a way. The story centers on a child named Finney being abducted by a kidnapper named the Grabber. The Grabber is played by Ethan Hawke, and the Finney is played by Mason Thames. I've never heard of him. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so I couldn't actually. You know what? He will have an IMDb page. I did not look that up. He's a good actor. Of the child actors, my favorite had to be Madeleine McGraw, who played Gwen Shaw, Finney's little sister. She is going places. I don't know. She is really talented. She really was every scene she was in, she was believable. Does she have a Wikipedia? She does not. She will have an IMDb. I am too lazy to look both of them up. So I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers because this movie just came out 2 days ago. I just saw it this morning or this afternoon, and I gotta say I was really impressed. I think it's been a long time since I actually got emotional at a horror film. I saw it was a horror film, like, oh, this is gonna be a scary film, yeah, and it was scary. It did have jump scares, which I hate jump scares. They're always so cheap, and they're always kind of funny. Like it, it happens, you jump, and then you laugh, like, oh, I laughed, I jumped at that. But the jump scares in this are the best way I can describe it is earned because they're not overdone. I think like 3 times it happens, but it's so quick and it's effective. Like the way they do it, it's never a fake out. Like the music swells and then like they close the fridge and there's a cat walks by or something stupid like that. It was every time there was a jump scare, it was actually something important. And I am not ashamed to say I did jump a couple times. And yeah, like the real scary parts of the story was more on Ethan Hawke's character, the Grabber, because he's so sinister. Because like 'cause Ethan Hawke is like a really good actor, and I saw the list of all the actors, and he's the only one on here that I actually remember. Like looking at the names, I have the IMDb pulled up right here, finally, and And yeah, like you can tell he's like a veteran actor because he's just so good. I mean, they're all really good. There's no bad actors in this. Even like all the kid actors, there's like minor roles for the like for all the little for the kid actors, and I didn't see any bad acting. Um, there was maybe about 6 or 7 mm, there's like I'd say about 3 main characters that you see regularly throughout the whole film. That's the Finn, Gwen, and the Grabber. They're the like every scene focuses on one of those 3 characters, and everyone else are basically minor characters. You get to more and more minor characters, and they all did a great job. And it looks like Mason Thames is the actor that played Finney. He has 6 credits to his name. He was in Walker, which is the reboot of Walker Texas Ranger, I believe. I don't want to say I know for a fact because I do not. He was also in For Amilas. I don't know what that is, or if I'm even pronouncing it right. I'm probably not even pronouncing it right. He was in For Mankind. Don't know what that is, and Evil, Evo, I don't know. The only thing here I know is the Black Phone and Walker, and I've never even watched Walker. As for the sister, when it loads, the Madeleine McGraw is in, wow, 27 acting credits, which, okay, she was in Bones in 2014, American Sniper, Hide and Seek, Selfie, The Firefly Catcher, Stars, Susie Sunshine, Clarence, Divorce, The Greatest Hits, Lucy in My Eyes, Outcast, Cars 3. She played Maddie McGear. Let's see, Pacific Rim Uprising, Young Amira. I've never seen that. Reverie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Young Hope. Ah, that is a character I remember. She played Young Hope in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She was in Criminal Minds, Toy Story 4. Oh, she was Bonnie's voice in Toy Story 4. That's another character I know. The Mandela Effect. There's a movie called The Mandela Effect. I hope they didn't ruin it. Christmas Wish, The Mitchells versus the Machines, which I have yet to see. I need to watch that. She played young Katie. I've never seen it, but yeah, she did a fantastic job. She was probably my favorite. Out of all the actors that I met on here, in this movie, she was probably my favorite and the one I wanted to look up the most. And I am totally not surprised to see that she has so many acting credits because, yeah, like if this had been her first movie, I'd have been like, wow, get her on as many movies as you can get because like she's funny and she comes off as very likable. But then there is one scene kind of towards the beginning that I almost actually walked out of the theater. I don't really handle child abuse scenes very well for reasons you can probably guess, but I'm not going to go into on here. And so, and part of the reason I almost walked out is not only just because they're showing this in this movie, but she's doing such a good job of acting that I I'm like, wow, I really feel what she's going through here because again, you can kind of guess, but she plays it off really well. Like she like really you really believe it. And it's like she does that and the funny scene. She does like the dramatic and the lighthearted scenes like very well. And like I was like really impressed. And look at some of these other Terrence is the father, I believe. I will have to come back and look at my notes. I actually wrote notes. Terrence is the father, yes, played by Jeremy Davies. And he was interesting. Like, okay, so most movies that has an abusive parent, they're usually one note. He's been in 54 movies. Usually, abusive parents in movies are one note. They're the abusive parent, and that's it. There's no redemption. You're not even supposed to even remotely like them. They hit a kid. Oh, I hate that character for life. And for the most part, I did. I'm like every time he was on screen after that part, I was like, yeah, I don't like you. And but he wasn't quite so one note in this because there were scenes even after that where like he starts to come off as kind of a sympathetic character. Like he does care for his kids, just he has a weird way of showing it. Uh, one of one of Finn's friends gets kidnapped, And whenever Terrence gets off the phone, he like you can tell like he's kind of afraid to tell his son. He's like, "Hey, um, you know this kid?" And Vinny's like, "Yeah, that's my friend. Why?" And then like he doesn't want to tell him because he's like, "I don't want to hurt my son because that's his friend." So like, he's not just a one note character in that he hits he hits his kids and that's all he does in the movie. You actually there are moments later on in the film where it's you start to get his side, like why he feels the way he does, and why he does like all that. Like he doesn't want to abuse his kids. Like that wasn't even. I don't know. Like I was just surprised because usually, again, like I said, in most movies, you, you do that as a character. That's it. That's all your character is. But there is kind of at the very end. Again, I don't want to get into spoilers. At the very end, there is kind of I want to say a redeeming moment, but I don't know because like if there is more, if the story continued, I don't know if like he changes his ways after that. I mean, you can tell at the beginning of the movie, the first scene you have with the kids with him, you can tell something's not right. Like I thought they weren't going to show any kind of abuse; they're just kind of imply it. Because when you first meet them, like Finney's trying not to make any noise in the kitchen. He's accidentally slurping his cereal, and the father like lowers his newspaper. He's oh, I for a second I forgot it. Oh yeah, it takes place in 1978. It's like I'm thinking for some reason he has a newspaper in 2022. Yeah, it takes place in 1978. So yeah, he has a newspaper. He's reading it, and Finney's over here slurping the cereal, and he like lowers it, and he's like, "Can you slurp any louder? They can't hear you in the next town over," or something like that. And then this Finney's like, "I'm sorry." And Gwen walks in and accidentally makes a loud noise, like she like tries to open a cabinet or something, and it like hits the floor, like a drawer, and then she's like, "I'm sorry." So you can tell right away that like he's not a nice person. And so whenever it showed that scene, that the one that I was talking about earlier, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's his character. That's who this person is. But then it was like the highlight of that. Like after that, they're like, all right, let's pull it back on this character. Let's every time you see him after that, he's well, not being nice so much. He's just not as mean. You know, it's there's even though like they try to make movies realistic, but there are still tropes that they kind of live by, and you get so used to these tropes. And in my mind, I'm trying to break away from that because I know that they try to. And but yeah, like this character, like what else has he been in? General Hospital, Wonder Years, Melrose Place. Oh, he's been in a lot of things apparently. No, I remember that movie. He was in Twister as Lawrence. If that doesn't tell you who he is. Saving Private Ryan, he was Corporal Upham. I don't know. I've never seen it. I have seen Saving Private Ryan, but it was like 20 years ago. I don't remember that much. But yeah, there's a lot of things he's been in that I haven't seen. I'm looking through Helter Skelter. I know of the. Oh wait, he plays Charles Manson in Helter Skelter in 2004. So yeah. Oh, he was in Lost. 119 episodes. He was Dr. Daniel Faraday and Daniel Widmore. Why is there two names for him? I guess I need to watch the show to find out. Constantine, the series. Richie Simpson. Lucifer in 93 episodes as Nick Hoffmeister. Twin Peaks, the reboot, one episode. Jimmy. Apparently, he was in a lot of things. Oh, he played in God of War, a voice. Boulder. I never. I played it, but I didn't get far enough to get to that part. I guess. I will say this: I try not to project my feelings for characters onto the actors. That sounds like common sense, but like it goes all the way back to me. It goes back to that '70s show where, for the longest time, I did not like Mila Kunis because I thought she was stuck up. Because I saw her and I saw Jackie, and I would see her in other things, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like her." But then, like several years ago, I saw her in interviews, and she was like so funny and sweet, and I was like, oh, like right, that is a character. And so I try not to do that. It's like now I'll see him in a movie and be like, oh, it's this guy. The guy that's over here hitting kids. Like, oh no, that was a character. Let's see. I want to talk about Ethan Hawke real fast. Okay, so like I know him from Moon Knight. I also know his name because he's a big famous actor. He's been around for a long time. He's been in 97 movies. So like he's like a veteran of acting. Let's see. He goes back. I'm still scrolling. 1985 Explorers, Dead Poets Society, White Fang. Yeah, he's been in a lot of things. Well, here's the thing. I know his name. He's one of those actors who like I know his name, but I couldn't tell you his face or what he's been in. And so like it's like Ethan Hawke in Moon Knight. I'm like, oh yeah, big name actor. Don't know what he's done, but now when I saw him pop up for this, what's funny is because of Moon Knight, he had like the long hair in Moon Knight. I saw the poster for the Black Phone, and I saw the mask with the hair. I'm like, that kind of looks like Ethan Hawke's character in Moon Knight. And then it said starring Ethan Hawke. I'm like, oh well, yeah. So that's two things in the last year he's been in that I recognize. So I think I don't know if he's making a resurgence or if I'm just noticing him now. But yeah, like he's definitely a really good actor because if he wasn't playing a murderer, he could have easily played a very friendly person because like there were times where he sounded really friendly and likable and charming and like kind of playful actually, and it was kind of eerie because you know what he is and what he's doing, and he's like sitting there like having a friendly chat with this child he just kidnapped and holding in his basement. and, and like the kids over here looking panicked, and like he's over here having like a friendly chat and like all cheerful and happy, and anyway, I'll be right back. Stay right there. And it's like, oh no, you're creepy. And he's such a great actor. Let's see who else is in this movie that I can talk about. Those are the four main people. The story itself, like it was different enough that I couldn't guess where it was going. Basically, like without giving too much away, it was about like the Finney, the kid that I've been talking about, the main character. He gets kidnapped by the grabber Ethan Hawke, and he's locked in his basement. And with the only thing that's there is a bed, there's a toilet, and a black phone hanging on the wall. The black phone isn't connected to anything. It shows him picking up the line. It's been cut. However, this phone rings, and the grabber's like, yeah, it doesn't actually work. Just don't ignore it. It's just the static electricity in the room. It makes it ring. I picked it up. There's no one there. Trust me. It's not even possible. But it rings, and Finney picks it up anyway. And there are kids on the other line. There's multiple people that the grabber has killed. I think up to five. I think he kidnapped and killed five kids up to this point. And throughout the movie, you hear from all five. All five of them talk to him over the phone that's not connected to anything. And yeah, without giving too much away, that's basically the plot of the movie. Okay, avoiding spoilers, I will say the way that they ended this, they it started to look like they were going a certain way, like at the end, like as they were starting to like reach the solution at the end, like solving everything. I thought they were going a direction I wasn't gonna like. I was literally like starting to roll my eyes. I was starting to roll my eyes, and I was like, "Seriously, we're doing this?" But then it turned out they didn't. They were faking us out into thinking they were doing something that they weren't, and I was like, "Oh!" And because of that, like literally that, like it just had they not done that and it just ended it the way they ended up ending it, the actual conclusion, it would have still been good. But like knowing they did that, like they deliberately made us think that, I it just kind of elevated it for me. Like yes, and yeah, like I said, like I wasn't just getting emotional at the abuse part. That was one thing, but like at the end, like the way it ends and like the music and just like what happened, like I was like literally, I think it wasn't even just me, like because there was people sitting around me, like everyone was like wiping their eyes, like wow, that was really good. I think there was a couple sitting in front of me, and like the girlfriend turned to the boyfriend and was like you didn't tell me this was going to be sad. You said this was going to be scary, and he was like, I thought it was, and it was. It was scary, but it was also sad too. Like happy sad. It was good. It was happy sad and sad sad. If that makes sense. It's hard to talk about without giving spoilers, but like it. Okay, so the way it ended was really good. And I hope it stays that way. I hope it stays ended. The reason I say that is because I looked on the Wikipedia and it says potential sequel. In June 2022, Derrickson said Hill had pitched him a wonderful idea for a sequel that he would do if the first film was successful. Currently, the first film is successful. It had a budget of $18 million, and currently the box office is $35.8 million. It came out 2 days ago. This movie is doing well. So I'm not saying I don't want it to do well. I don't want them to do a sequel because I don't know how they could do a sequel. I mean, it's one of those kind of things. Like I love the characters. I love the brother and sister characters so much. I want to see more of them, but not as a sequel. If they did like a spin-off, like an unrelated spin-off, like Frasier has no ties. It has like stylistically and everything. It has so differently from Cheers, so different from Cheers. It's hard to believe that it is a spin-off of that. If they do continue the story of the siblings, I want them to do something like that. Like make like a comedy spin-off or something that's not putting them in another kidnap situation where, or like a Taken 2 where this time she gets kidnapped and he has to rescue her. I don't want that. I don't want a sequel. Perhaps my favorite aspect of the whole film now is the relationship between the two siblings, Ben and Gwen. They were very believable as siblings, and I liked every scene where they interacted. And throughout the whole film, like I was actually thinking, I hope they get out. I hope Finn gets out so that he can reunite with his sister. I'm so used to like movie relationships. Like again, like not saying with the father, it was one. I'm used to one note characters where he's abusive, so that's his character. He is always abusive. That's all he's ever going to be. And so I'm used to like siblings in movies and shows, like especially in shows because they're shorter. They're shorter, so like if these if this if these siblings don't get along, they either just don't get along, and that's their thing, or the point of the movie is like as like a plot of the movie is by the end they're going to learn to appreciate each other or something. And this movie, like they already had a strong relationship at the beginning of the movie, especially the scene that I was talking about before with the abuse. I I know you can tell that Finney wanted to step in and help her, but he was also afraid of his father at the same time. So obviously he didn't. And after the scene, you can tell that he had a little bit of regret for that. And he goes and sits next to her in front of the TV, and there's no word spoken in this part, but it says more about their relationship than the rest of the entire movie. Just this little moment is like a 10-second moment. He just goes and sits right next to her, and she lays her head on his shoulder, and then they just silently watch TV while she's still crying. And yeah, like from that moment on, I was like, I'm rooting for these characters just from that moment alone. And it just like that moment kind of fueled the rest of the emotional weight of the movie. If that hadn't happened, I would still be rooting for these characters, and there would still be that emotion there of I hope they find each other, and I hope this gets resolved. But that just adds that little extra kick, you know? So that's one thing that really stuck out to me that I wanted to at least bring up. But yeah, that was The Black Phone. That is a movie I did not think that I was gonna like, and it ended up being a really good movie that I thoroughly enjoyed and highly recommend.